Okay, so good evening to everybody. And so in case any of you are having any doubts from whatever we did in last two sessions, you can tell me so that quickly we can look at those things. So does anybody have any doubt? Okay, so let us see. Yesterday at the end we looked at Google PageRank algorithm, and I think I went little possibly fast. So in case you want me to explain again with different examples, that I can do. So what is the opinion? Should we?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. All right. So let me do it once again. Right. So what is it's a Google PageRank algorithm. Basically, you can think of as the network problem. So all these websites are connected to each other. There is a link from one website to another website. So when we search any keyword, what it does is it searches all over the place, and then it looks at which website has most appropriate or maximum number of hits or maximum number of appearance of that particular keyword, right? So that is how the ranking is decided. It's the kind of how many it's a voting pattern. So the person who gets maximum number of vote will win, right? So that's what. So I started with this network. Let me make it smaller network. Let me say I have 6, and here let me say 20. Okay, so there are 6 websites and 20 links. Okay, so this is a network. So it's a small network. It starts with 0. Then you have 1, then 2, 3, and 4 and 5. So 0 to 5. Okay. So this is a graph, directed graph in terms of graph theory, right? So let me again copy paste this in chat message. Yeah. So now what we will do, we will assign a matrix to this network. If there is a link from, let us say, let me call that matrix as H. So H will consist of Hij. So in case there is a link from I to J, we will call that as, if there is a link from J to I, we'll call that as 1, otherwise 0. Okay, you can, that is what is called adjacency matrix, right? So this is the adjacency matrix of this particular network. So there is an inbuilt function for adjacency matrix in Sage. Once you have defined a graph, then you can find out what is its adjacency matrix. Let me again paste it in chat box. Yeah, right. So you can again compare. There will be, for example, if I look at this is the entry which is in the second column, second row, and fourth column. So in terms of index, it will be first I equal to 1 and j equal to 3. So if says there from 3 to 1, there should be a link. 3 to 1, there is a link. That's what you can see here, right? So that is why this is 1. Otherwise, it will be 0. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can make this as a probability matrix by looking at the probability of visiting from jth website to ith website. And how can we do? So we will just divide each column by the number of ones. Okay, so I have written this small code to do this. One can do with the inbuilt function also, but I thought this is a simple enough code, which will it will create a matrix A Now let us look at what is this matrix A. So this is the matrix A. If you look at the first column, there are 3 ones, right? And second column, there are 3 ones. Fourth column, there are 4 ones, and so on. So this is a what is called transition matrix, or you can also call this as a probability matrix, right? Now let us say somebody starts with web page 1. So how many? There are, I think, six web pages. So this should have a vector, column vector starting with 1. So 1 0 0 0 0 0. This is my initial yes, right? So you can find out what will be the probability of a person on each website after 1 click, right? So that can be computed by just A times the initial vector. A times initial vector. It is quite easy to see. Okay. Just think a little bit, you will get it. So this is after 1 click, this is what you get. So there is 1/3 probability of him being on web page 2, on web page 3, 1/3, on 4th 0, 5th 0, 6th 1/3, right? So now this is your, let us say after 1 click, this is my vector. This is also known as stochastic vector in terms of statistics. So any vector whose entries are non-negative and sum is 1 is called a stochastic vector or probability vector, right? So this is now the position. So after 1 more click, what will be his thing that we can find out? A times B, that is same as A square B naught. That is A square B naught. So you can see here now 1/12 probability of being on web page 1, 1/6 on web page 2, 7/38, 7/36 on web page 3, and so on. Right? So in long run, if the person spends, let us say, hours surfing this internet, in long run, where can you find it? Right? So that is what. So let us look at, in case we look at what happens after 1,000 clicks. So this is the probability you get. This is the probability of him being on each website. Now, if this is the network and if it has to be ranked, which is the most important one, like, I mean, ranking here in this case is in terms of a person, probability of finding a person on a particular website. Okay. Now, in terms, when you search a keyword, that's exactly what happens. It gives you the number of incoming links to each website, right? That link will be decided by the keyword that you search. Of course, the Google, I mean, you don't expect when you search Google, you search any keyword in Google, every time to go all over the millions of websites and search everything. So for that purpose, what Google does is they have some thousands of servers sitting all over the place, and these servers, their job is to kind of crawl. There is something called crawling. They will crawl each on each website occasionally, and they will keep this data. Right? They will keep this data. So when you search any keyword, it will not go to all over the place. It will go to only that particular server, which is nearest to you, right? And then it will get that information. Okay. So it may not be the most appropriate one, because in the sense that it's possible that some other website would have got little more importance, but then most often, I mean, even this update may not be that, it will be quite frequent, so it hardly matters, right? So that is how you rank the web page. Now, whatever is the maximum probability, highest probability will get rank 1. In this case, there are 2 websites having similar probability, so they will appear first, followed by this, and followed by this, right? So that is the simplest way Google PageRank algorithm. Now, as I said, in principle, in actual thing, there will be millions of websites, so you will be dealing with million by million matrix, which is a very tedious process. So this can be explained to even let us say 11th, 12th grade students actually, right? this is just a matrix multiplication. Ultimately, what matters is how you find this, the higher power, the large power of a large matrix. That is where this eigenvalues, eigenvectors, diagonalization, all these concepts are required, and that is why the students should learn. So you see, this is one concept which will actually motivate a lot of concepts in linear algebra. So usually this is the first example that I give whenever I start my linear algebra course, right? So why should you learn, for example, linear algebra? This is one such application, right? Of course, as I said last time, it's possible that sometimes you may have a loop, or you may have something called dangling node or dangling website. In which case, what happens is you may be able to go to that particular website, and from there you cannot go to anywhere else. So, for example, there are many times we click PDF file. So PDF file will simply open in some browser, right? It may not have another link. So that is what we call dangling node. But then Google takes care of that by defining. So for example, this is 6x6 matrix. So one can define a matrix, 6x6 matrix having all ones. That would simply mean that all websites are connected to each other, right? That will be that adjacency matrix of network in which everything is connected to everything, right? So then they take average of this probability matrix and not average, weighted average of this probability matrix and the matrix which you are creating for a website which is in which everything is connected to each other. That is what they call Google matrix. And in fact, they take what is called convex linear combination with so the 1 minus alpha times A plus alpha times the matrix, let me call that as matrix S. And then by trial and error, they have found that alpha is equal to 0.85 works quite efficiently. That has got some name, but I forgot the name. And yes, that is how we take care of dangling nodes and loops. Okay, so you can now work with bigger examples. Instead of 6, you can have websites of 20 websites, and then maybe 200 links. Of course, it may take a little more time, but it will work. Is this clear to everybody? Is it clear? Right. So after that, I'll just. Of course, there is a way to rank this also, but I'll not. That's some simple Python code will do. Is it fine? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So let us look at some more concepts today. So so far we have dealt with matrices or vectors defined on, say, for example, QQ or RR or CC, ZZ, like on integers, rational numbers, real numbers. But C also has domains. It can deal with domains which are, for example, algebraic closed field, right? So this QQ bar is one such, which is a field of algebraic numbers. That is complex. It is a complex number which are the roots of the polynomials over ZX. Or you can think of this as embedding into C, algebraic closure of Q embedded inside C, right? So you can define matrix over that. You can also define, as I said, matrices over finite fields. You can define matrices over finite fields. You can also define over polynomial rings. All such possibilities are there. So it has a lot of capability. So let us define this matrix. Let me copy this in the chat message. This is a matrix. Run this. That's the matrix, which is 5 cross 5 matrix defined over QQ bar. Algebraic numbers. Right. Now you can possibly find out, for example, LU factorization, right? You can factor this in terms of lower triangular matrix and upper triangular matrix. But I'm sure all of you know that not every matrices can be factored into LU factorization. However, if you allow row interchange, it can be done. So there is something called PLU factorization. So if I simply say LU A dot LU, then it will give me, so let me first show you. It gives me three matrices. The first is permutation matrix. So in this case, you see that first row is not E1. First row has become E5 in this case. So first row is E5, second row is E2, third row is E3, fourth row is E1, right? And fifth row is I think you have to think of in terms of column. So first column is E4, second column is E2, third column is E3, fourth column is E5, and the last column is E1, right? And then this is the second part is lower triangular matrix. This is upper triangular matrix. So these four matrices I can store in P, L, comma, U. This is what is called PLU factorization. You can ask it to show. So let me copy this. This is what is called PLU factorization. So if you multiply P times L times U, this would give you answer A. This is equal to A, right? So what it means is L times U is not A, but when you multiply this by permutation matrix, that is when you allow row interchange, after that you can factor into LU decomposition. This has a lot of application, especially it helps you in solving system of linear equations, and it reduces the computation time. You can, and finding LU decomposition is much simpler than solving system of linear equation. That is quite expensive, especially if you want to find via inverse. It is quite expensive, right? So that is where one can apply LU decomposition. You can even have, so let me write this verification. So this is just to verify whether A is equal to P times L times. You can have a bigger example and do all these things. So it will work with reasonably large example also. Right. Yeah. So this is your LU decomposition. You can also do Cholesky decomposition. For example, if the matrix happens to be symmetric and positive definite, then you can factor A into L times L transpose. L is lower triangle and its transpose will be upper triangle. Of course, in that case, you can't expect L to be unit upper triangle. That is what you saw in case of this matrix, LU decomposition. So suppose let us take one example. Let us say this is an example, and we can check that whether this is symmetric matrix by just looking at it. It is quite simple, but there is a command called a.is, that is underscore symmetric. Actually, that is a philosophy of SAGE. Whenever it has to define a command or a method consisting of more than 2 keywords, then it joins them using underscore, and everything beginning is small letter. For example, the same thing in Mathematica would be different. In Maple, it will be different. So in SAGE, the philosophy is this. This is how they combine. And is always anything which you want to check whether it is symmetric, then it will start, the command will start with is. We saw that if you want to check whether some number is prime, it is underscore prime. If you want to check whether the matrix is positive definite or not, is underscore positive. So that is another thing you can. So this we can let us check whether this is symmetric. The answer is yes. We can check whether it is positive definite. Again, using the command is underscore positive definite. So this is a symmetric and positive definite matrix. Therefore, you can have Cholesky decomposition, right? So the Cholesky decomposition is the command is just Cholesky, Cholesky. Okay. Now you can print what is L. Let me print, or I'll ask it to show. So when I do show it, what it does actually is it uses LaTeX code. There is a XML which works behind the scene. Sage also uses what is a package called SageText. So using that, it converts into LaTeX output. So that is how you can see here. I already said that you can convert this into LaTeX code, but if you ask it to show, it will show you the LaTeX output. Okay, so yeah, so that's how you can find the Cholesky decomposition. Let me copy this. Okay, right. So that's quite simple. So I request all of you to finish this part of finding LU decomposition and Cholesky factorization. Of course, I mean, one can write program to do all these things. Simple Python program can be obtained, but this is inbuilt on. Okay, fine. So similarly, let us look at Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process. So again, we will define a matrix over QQ bar over algebraic closed field. So let me this. So this is the matrix, which is this is a matrix. Let me ask it to again show. This is a 5 rows and 3 columns matrix. Okay. So Sage has an inbuilt function to find what is called Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process. And it will find Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process of rows. Okay, so in this case, there are 5 rows. Each row has 3 elements. That means each row is a vector in R3. So of course, you expect that the rows will not be linearly independent. So what it will do is it will take only the linearly independent rows, and from there it will convert into orthogonal set of vectors, right? So what is the result? In case you have V1, V2, Vk linearly independent vectors in Rn, then there exist orthonormal vectors, let us say Q1, Q2, Qk, that can be obtained from V1, V2, Vk using Gram-Schmidt process. That is quite easy. Right. So Sage has inbuilt function. Of course, you can also do it, write your own program. It is quite simple. So what is the function? It is called a.gram_Schmidt. Okay, a.gram_Schmidt. Orthogonal equal to true is that it will orthogonalize the vector. It will divide by the norm. Otherwise, it may on some domain, it may just give you orthogonal vectors, not orthonormal vectors. Okay, so let us run this. And okay, so when you run this, it will give you again 2 outputs. One will be, there will be 2 matrices, G and M. Let me show you in this case what are G and what are M. So G is this matrix, 3 by 3 matrix. So these 3 by 3 matrix, here this first 3 row will be linearly independent. It will be orthogonal vectors. Okay, and this is, in this case, this is lower triangular matrix. This is a lower triangular matrix, and such that this M times G will give you the matrix A. M times G is matrix A. So you can check M times G is equal to A. Of course, sometimes you may not get the answer true because these calculations will be mostly numerical calculations. So it may differ. It may not be equal entry by entry. In that case, the way to compare is you can compare the difference between the norm. So I can say, for example, M star G minus A and find norm of this. Norm of this. So it should be G. In this case, it is exactly equal, so it is giving you 1. But it may happen that it may be some 10 to power of order 10 to power, let us say minus 15 or so, or by 70. Okay, so in that case, we know that they are numerically very close to each other. Okay. Right, so that's how you can find this QR factorization. I can take another example, but let us look at generally the one which we are used to seeing as a problem, not in terms of matrix. So suppose we have these 4 vectors. We used last time these 4 vectors, v1, v2, v3, v4. We saw that these are linearly independent. And then we let us construct a matrix. Let us construct a matrix out of these vectors, that is column matrix. A1 is column matrix. First column is the first vector, second column is second vector, third column is third vector. First, let me copy paste in chat message. Okay. And then what we want to do, we want to orthogonalize this, right? So generally what you can also think of this as let us say that the orthonormal basis, or in this case basis, if we are looking at in Q4. But if it is linearly independent vectors, we will just set of orthonormal set of vectors. Let us call this as Q1, Q2, Q4. Then A is equal to some Q times R. That is also known as QR factorization. And where Q is the Q1, Q2, Q4 will be the orthogonal set of vectors, orthonormal set of vectors that you obtain from Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process. So this QR factorization and Gram-Schmidt process, they are one and the same actually, right? So let us look at what we can do. Let me just explain this this part. So first, what we are doing, we are if you just want to, okay, so once you have defined a matrix, and then if you want to do some computation, it may not, it's possible that it may not allow you to do that computation in that particular domain, right? So you can change that domain. So that command is called a dot change ring, and I'm changing that ring over QQ bar. Initially we defined over QQ. Now we are saying that you change it over QQ bar, and then on A, by default, the Gram-Schmidt gives me it takes the row matrix and it does the orthogonalization. But now I have defined as a column matrix, so I will take the transpose of that. A2 dot T gives me the transpose of the matrix, and then apply Gram-Schmidt process, and then define Q1 to be the matrix G transpose of that, because we have taken already transpose, and R1 to be the M transpose, and then so let me run this. Let me run this. I will also copy this in chat message, so that simultaneously you can do. Now we have defined Q and R, and then let us check whether Q into R, which is R1, I'm calling it R1, is same as the column matrix which we defined, that is A2. Okay, so I can ask it to show Q1 and show R1. So these are the vectors. Okay. Right. Of course, it is not giving you orthogonalized vector, orthonormal. It is giving only orthogonalized. If you want to orthonormalize, then you have to use the option called orthonormal equal to true. But one can do that, right? So this is, of course, there is an inbuilt function to find QR factorization. Sorry, there is inbuilt function to find QR factorization, and that is called a dot QR. So that there is an inbuilt function. So that also let me give it to you. So one can find QR factorization using inbuilt function. And again, this QR factorization has a lot of applications, especially one can use this in least square problems and in other problems as well. Because when you multiply any matrix by orthogonal matrix, the length does not change. So that is, and of course you can also check that the Q matrix which you are getting is orthonormal. That is Q into Q transpose. Here we have used conjugate transpose because we are the matrix we have defined in QQ bar, which is over complex field. So Q conjugate transpose times Q should be identity. So that is what we are testing. Right. So this is how we can define Gram-Schmidt process. We can orthogonalize any set of linearly independent vectors, not only just linearly independent vectors, but even if you have any set of vectors, you can use Gram-Schmidt. So what it will do is it will use, for example, row operation and make all the linearly independent columns at the beginning, and then it will apply Gram-Schmidt process to that. So this is what is called, I think, full QR factorization is what they call. Right. Okay, fine. Is there any question? Is there any question? Should we go ahead?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
In this output matrices, those long decimal numbers are there. So how to restrict those decimals? If you want rational form.
A rational form from QQ bar you may not get, right? But one can use what is called round. Rounding of can be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. And the question mark which you see at the end in this some of this output, that it simply tells you that it is an approximate value. It's a numerical approximation. Okay. So let us also look at one more simple thing, which so in case you have a matrix A or a linear transformation A from, let us say, vector space V to itself, then and you start with any non-zero vector V. If you look at V, AV, A square V, AQ V, and so on, this and so let us assume that V is a finite dimensional vector space. Then this set will you can find the K such that V, AV, A square V dot 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 it to the power K V will become linearly independent. So the subspace spanned by that is what is called cyclic subspace of A with respect to V, and that there is an inbuilt function to find it. So let us take, this is the matrix A, which is 4 cross 4 matrix, and this is the matrix A, and start with any vector. Here I have taken the vector E2, but you can take any vector, and then let me define A dot cyclic subspace and put it in, let us say, AV or some other name you can call. Let me just continue with AV. So that is what it says. It is a subspace of degree 4, dimension 3. So it generates a 3-dimensional subspace. Okay. So copy this here, and you can even find out a polynomial you can find out a polynomial. So you can say this gives you actually also a polynomial. So here P is a polynomial which is S cube minus 9s square plus 24s minus 16. So if you put, for example, it will give you a polynomial which will annihilate this A, right? If I ask it to show this is the polynomial, and if I take the coefficients of this, if I take the coefficients multiplied by A to the power, coefficient times A to the power whatever appropriate coefficient you have, then that will annihilate V. So let me just show you. Before that, let me, this I've already copied. Yeah. So now what we have done, what I am doing here is these coefficients we are taking. So coefficients will give you starting with constant term in reverse order here, right? So this is a constant term. This is coefficient of S. This is coefficient of S square. This is coefficient of S cube. Now, if you say minus 16 times identity matrix plus 24 times A minus 9 times A square plus A cube, that times V will always be 0. So this annihilates A. That is what it means. So you can also, for example, the same concept, you can use it in order to just verify Cayley-Hamilton theorem, right? We know that every matrix satisfies its characteristic polynomial. So if you take any matrix, find its characteristic polynomial, and then find the coefficient, store the coefficients in some list, and then use this concept to verify the Cayley-Hamilton theorem. Similarly, you can use minimal polynomial and do the similar. Right. Okay. So is that fine? Is this? Can we go ahead? I'm not sure if people are running these commands, getting the outputs.
So we are trying some of them. We'll do it afterwards, sir.
So in case you are lagging behind, you can slow me down. There is nothing like we have to finish some syllabus or anything.
Sir, as it is in chat box, we can, if we miss something, we can always do that.
Right. Of course, that is there. And I'm also at the end, I'm sharing our handouts there. So there's no question of missing anything. Right. Okay, fine. So you can also find exponential of a matrix. So there is a function, inbuilt function called exp, right? And you know that in order to find exponential, one has to possibly put it in simpler form or general canonical form, etc. Right. So let me just start with simple example. So if A is a 2 cross 2 matrix, let us say 1, 2, 3, 4. The exponential of A is given by this. It looks a little complicated, but you can find it its decimal value, right? You can change the ring of A to RDF. RDF is actually this will be the real field with very high precision, right? So in this case, it will give you decimal value. So that's the exponential of the matrix 1, 2, 3, 4. You can try with other matrices also. In case it is a diagonal matrix, exponential will be just exponential of the diagonal entries. But in case you have other types of matrices, it may not be in some particular form. So let us look at, as I said in the last time, that there is a inbuilt function to find Jordan canonical form. So let us start with a matrix. Just 1 second. Let us start with this matrix A. Now let us check whether A is diagonalizable. The answer is false. A is not diagonalizable. Okay, so if A is not diagonalizable, then we cannot find a basis consisting of eigenvectors, right? So in that case, you can do Jordan canonical form, right? Again, Jordan canonical form only it will do not in every field, but that will also require certain conditions. In any case, here it will work in QQ bar, right? So let us first let me. You can find out now we have checked, but we can find out A dot eigen eigen space or eigenvectors, right? Eigenvectors, right? In this case, you can see here this matrix. This matrix has how many? 3 eigenvectors: 1, 2, and -1, right? Sorry, no. -1 is one eigenvector, and 2 is another eigenvector. Only 2 eigenvectors are there. Eigenvalues are there, and there is only one eigenvector with respect to eigenvector value -1, and there is only one eigen vector with respect to eigenvalue 2, and eigenvalue 2 is of multiplicity 3, and eigenvalue -1 is of multiplicity 2. So that's a 5 cross 5 matrix, right? Therefore, this is not diagonalizable. Okay, that's another way of to check whether it is diagonalizable by finding its eigenvectors, right? Okay, so we can find Jordan canonical form of this. So there is an inbuilt function called A dot Jordan underscore form. This will find the Jordan canonical form, and this is what you get. So these are the subdivide equal to true will give you in blocks. So this is the first block, this is the second block. So that's why you can see here, this is first block is with respect to eigenvalue -1. This second block is with respect to eigenvalue 2. Right. Now, in case one application of this you can think of course, this Jordan canonical form has a lot of applications, especially whenever you want to prove the convergence of something. One has to appeal to Jordan canonical form related to matrix. But you can also use this for solving system of ordinary linear differential equations, right? X dash is equal to AX. So in case the matrix is diagonalizable, it is very easy to solve. But if it is not diagonalizable, then you can solve using, you can find its Jordan canonical form and still you can solve. But then one has to find out what is the exponential of the Jordan blocks. One has to find exponential of Jordan blocks. Exponential of Jordan blocks turns out to be very a matrix which has very nice form. Okay, so that one can do. So let us look at how do we. Let us take an example. Let us take an example. So this is a three differential equations, first order. X1 dash is equal to 2x1 plus x2 plus x3. X2 dash is equal to 2x1 plus x2 minus 2x3. And third equation is x3 dash is equal to minus x1 plus 0 times x2 plus 2 times x3. That's the differential equation. System of ordinary differential equation. Here x1, x2, x3 are variables and right, dependent variables, and t is independent variable. So this, if you want to solve, okay. Now, so let me first copy paste this in chat message. Right. So this is here t is again defined as a variable. As I said earlier, Sage will think of x as a variable, but anything else, if you want to use as a variable, you have to define. Okay. So these are the three differential equations we have declared. Now, Sage also has an inbuilt function to solve system of ordinary differential equation, and the function is called DE underscore system. DE underscore system. You can look at help on DE solve. DE solve. It will give you what are the options available for solving differential equations. One will be solving first order, second order, then system of linear equations, including the numerical methods like Euler's method, RK4 method, and also the non-linear things. Okay, right. And also you can solve boundary value problems. Right. So let us solve this using inbuilt function. Okay. So what we are doing, DE solve, DE underscore DE solve system. This is the list of differential equation 1, 2, 3. These are the dependent variables, and this is the initial condition. So initial condition is x1 at 0 is 8, x2 at 0 is 32, x3 at 0 is 5, and this the variable independent variable is t. So when we solve this, what happened? I think I did not run this first part. Okay, this is the solution. Let me put it in slightly. Yeah, so this is the solution. Okay, so the solution is x1 is equal to 21 times t e to the power t plus 12 times 3 e to the power 3t minus 4 e to the power t, and so on. x1, x2, x3, it has solved. Now suppose we want to solve this using Jordan canonical form. If you want to solve this, so first one can define this coefficient matrix. Here coefficient matrix is going to be 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, minus 2, 1, 0, 2. So let us define this matrix. And you can check whether A is diagonalizable. So you can simply find A dot eigen vectors right. Okay. So first let me. Okay, you can check eigenvectors right. So it has one eigenvalue which is 3. With respect to that, there is one eigenvector, and there is another eigenvalue 1. With respect to that, again there are only one eigenvector. So there are not enough eigenvectors so that this can be diagonalized. So this is not a diagonalizable matrix, right? So if it is not diagonalizable matrix, then how do we solve this? You have to appeal to Jordan canonical form. So what we will do, we will so what is the last thing? Okay, so forget about this part. We will find out Jordan canonical form of A using this command. Okay, so let us ask it to show this is the Jordan block with respect to eigenvalue 3. This is the second block with respect to eigenvalue 1. And this is the matrix P. Here I call J. This is the matrix J that consists of eigenvector. Should not call eigenvectors because it is not going to be
generalized eigenvectors.
Generalized eigenvectors. Yes, generalized eigenvectors. And with respect to this, you're writing the matrix will be in this Jordan block, Jordan canonical form, right? So, and for example, if you write exponential of this Jordan matrix J times T, then this is how you get. Okay, this the first block will be e to the power 3t. The second block will be e to the power t times e to the power t. If it is 3 by 3 block, it will be e to the power t times e to the power t, then t squared times e to the power t by 2, I think. and then so on. So this gives you in upper triangular form a very nice, is a very nice form. This is quite easy to prove actually, right? Just by using the property of exponential, you can. So that helps us to solve this. Now, how do we solve this? So what we can do is, so this is the initial vector, initial condition. I have defined this in X naught, which is a 3 by 1 matrix, 8, 32, 5. Now the solution of this case, one can explain this. What you have to do is, the original system was X dash is equal to AX. Now A we have split it into Jordan block, right? So J inverse A times J is your A. So so you can write A in terms of J inverse, sorry, the J into D is J here. What is that I'm saying? Sorry. I think this matrix is P. So P times J times P inverse is your A. Okay. So now you make a transformation, that is, you define P inverse times X as some other variable, let us say Z, and then after that, all you are doing is you are solving a diagonal system. Okay, not diagonal system, but system which involves Jordan block. So the solution in this case, one can very easily check, is given by P, the matrix P times exponential of the Jordan block time T is T times P inverse into X naught. I have not. That's the one. Okay, so let me copy this. Sorry. And then let me see what is the solution that we are getting. This is the solution using Jordan block, and you can see here this is same as what we got using inbuilt function. Okay, so when you have to solve system of linear differential equation where the coefficient matrix is not diagonalizable, then one can find Jordan canonical form of that and then apply exactly the same method, except that you have to one has to obtain what is exponential of Jordan block, and that is not difficult to obtain. Okay, so that is one application. Of course, there are other applications, but I thought this is quite easy. Is this clear to everybody? Is this fine?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, quite fine.
So in case you have not understood this part, I mean, you can just simply work out, start with the system X dash is equal to AX, write A in terms of Jordan canonical form, and then make a transformation P inverse X is equal to Z. That's it. So your system will get converted into Z dash is equal to J into Z. Therefore, its solution is going to be Z is equal to exponential of JT. The time some constant, and that constant can be obtained from this initial condition. That's what one has to do. Okay, and if you want to actually, there is a website which I had created for my linear algebra book using SAGE, that is also freely available. So this on this website, you will see there are lots of examples of finding Jordan canonical form algorithmically. So step by step, I have explained, and that is that website will also have all the explanation along with the codes, and you can also it has inbuilt Sage cell where one can do the computation. You can change the matrices, etc. But actually, it was created by my collaborator Sangu Lee, and that is still there. So you can have a look at it. Okay. There is another thing which has this has lots of application, and there's another matrix factorization. So we looked at LU decomposition, we looked at Cholesky decomposition, we looked at QR factorization. There is another one which is called singular value decomposition. So every matrix can be decomposed into a matrix which is an orthogonal matrix times a rectangular diagonal matrix times another orthogonal matrix. This is what is called singular value decomposition. Okay, so I mean, if you want, I can just write. So here it says that if you have a matrix A, okay, then it can be written as matrix U times, let me put here, times matrix sigma times V transpose. Okay, this is what is called singular value decomposition. Here U is orthogonal matrix, V is also orthogonal matrix, and sigma will be rectangular matrix because A could be any m by n matrix, need not be square matrix. Okay, so let us look at some examples. And the proof of this is also very simple. I'm sure most of you must be doing in your course, right? So if A is this matrix, let us take this matrix over RDF. Again, singular value decomposition may not work over any, for example, over ZL or over QQ, right? So the command is A dot SVD, singular value decomposition. And this will give you three outputs, namely U, sigma, and V, right? So let us store this in USV.
What is RDF?
RDF, as I said, it is a, you can think of as, let us say, extended real field, right?
Okay.
So let me see RDF question mark. Let's hope there is, yeah. It is a real double field. So it is a real field, but it has some higher precision. Of course, it also gives you an approximation of real field of real numbers using double precision floating point number.
Okay. Right.
So, okay, so right, let me close this part. Yeah. So we have no, I have not defined A. I hope I have copied in chat message. Yes. Okay, so this is the, now let us print what are, let us show what are U, show S, and show V. So these are your, so in this case, what was the matrix? Matrix A was A was 3 cross 2 matrix, 3 rows and 2 columns. We have obtained its singular value decomposition. So here U is 3 cross 3 matrix. S is going to be 3 cross 2 matrix. And this is the first diagonal entry, the second diagonal entry. This is what is called singular value of A. This is square of the singular value. This is the singular value, of course. And this is another singular value. So this matrix has rank 2. These are the two singular values, and this is your matrix V. Now you can check, for example, U times S times V dot transpose. This is nothing but the matrix A. Again, you can see here, this is that this has done numerical computation. That is why you see 1.999999, not 2, and so on. So this is an inbuilt function to find singular value decomposition. Now, one of the advantage of this singular value decomposition is that you can find what is called generalized inverse of any matrix, also known as pseudo inverse or There is another name. But anyway, generalized inverse you can find out of any matrix. So how do we find generalized inverse? So since we have written A as U into S into V transpose, in order to find generalized inverse of A, all we need to do is find the generalized inverse of U, V, and then sigma. And U and V are, we know, orthogonal matrices. So its inverse, generalized inverse of a matrix which is invertible is going to be the usual inverse. So all we need, and general inverse of U is going to be U transpose, generalized inverse of V transpose is going to be V. So all we need to do is just find generalized inverse of this matrix sigma, which is rectangular matrix, but having some diagonal entries which are non-zero. And that is quite easy to find out. So all you have to do is take a transpose of this and then take the reciprocal of the non-zero diagonal entries. Okay, so that is how we can find generalized inverse. And now this generalized inverse can be used to solve a system of linear equations which are not square system, rectangular system. So you may have more number of equations than number of variables, or less number of equations than number of variables, or the coefficient matrix is not invertible, but still you can not solve, but you can find what is the closest solution. Is known as, that is what is called least square solutions or least square problems. Okay, so let me just explain this quickly with one problem. So suppose I have a matrix A, which is 6 cross 4 random matrix. Its entries are between -10 and 10. So it can be thought of, A can be thought of as a linear transformation from R4 to R6. And suppose you have a vector B, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, so if you want to solve the system Ax equal to B, if it has a solution, that simply means that B lies in the image space of this A. So one can check whether B lies in image space. We know how to find the image space of any matrix. If it is not, if it doesn't lie in the image space, we can find out what is the vector in the image space which is closest to B. And that is what is called least square solution. And that can be obtained as orthogonal projection of B onto image space of E. If you think of R4, R6 as inner product over with respect to standard inner product, this the solution can be thought of as orthogonal projection. So one can find orthogonal projection as a solution, or one can, but finding the smallest or closest solution is same as just solving this norm of Ax minus B the whole square. You just minimize norm of Ax minus B the whole square. So this is also actually optimization problem. This is also an optimization problem. And it turns out that the solution is given by the generalized inverse of A times B. Right? In case the system has a solution, unique solution Ax equal to B, then we know that the solution X is A inverse B. But in case it doesn't have a solution, then you can find generalized least square solution, and that is given by generalized inverse of A times B. And that generalized inverse can be obtained using singular value decomposition. So let us take this example. So here, this is I am generating a random matrix A over Z between -10 and 10. That is a random matrix. And then let us take a vector B, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let us define W to be the image of A, that is the image space, and check whether B lies in W. The answer says is no. The B does not lie in the image. Therefore, Ax equal to B does not have a solution. So we can find what is least square solution. So for that, we need to find out the norm of Ax minus B the whole square. That can also be done. So let me generate a symbolic variable X of size M. Here M is 4. So it will generate X1, X2, X3, X4. That's what you can see here, starting with 0. And then generate a symbolic vector X, which is x1, x2, x3, x4. This is a vector. Copy this here. And then let us define norm of Ax minus b as sum of the error square. Okay, so norm of Ax minus b as the sum of error square. So this is the Ax minus b the whole square, the norm of that. So this is actually a expression. This is a function of 4 variables, namely x0, x1, x2, x3, x4, which you want to minimize. So find the minimizer of this. This is a quadratic programming problem, and its solution you can find out by finding the gradient, equating it to 0, and solving for x1, x0, x1, x2, x3. Right. So this is how the expression looks like. Now let us find the gradient of this. This is what is the gradient, and let me copy this. This is the gradient, and then let us solve this for so when you solve this is what you get. The x0 is this one, x1 value is this one, x2 value is this one, x3 value is this one. So this is what is called the least square solution. The value of x0, x1, x2, x3, such that Ax, if I call x is equal to x1, x0, x1, x2, x3, then A times x will be the point which will be closest to B. Okay, that is what. So we have solved this using calculus, but you can solve this using generalized inverse. So how do we do that? Let us define this matrix A as change the ring A over the RDF, find the singular value decomposition of A. So this is the matrix was 6 cross 4. These are the singular values, and then okay. So this is the let me copy first this part. Then this is, let us find the generalized inverse. So I have written a small code to find generalized inverse of S, the rectangular matrix, but it is quite easy. Okay. And once we have done this, then the generalized inverse is going to be V into S1, which is the generalized inverse of S, times U transpose, and this times B will give me the solution. And if you just try to compare, if you compare this solution with the solution which we got here, in let me put it in numerical form. This is what you have. This solution is same as the one which we got using generalized inverse. So let me see what I have published. So the solution is given by. So that's the application of generalized inverse to least square problems. Of course, you can also find out orthogonal projection of B onto the image space, and then show that that is same as what we have got using generalized inverse. Is this clear to everybody?
Yes, I have a question. So for application purposes, you will usually have a large matrices. For example, suppose you want to calculate least square solution, and typically you will have some 100 by 100 matrix, or maybe even actually larger. So one problem there is how to enter this data. I mean, suppose I have my data in, let's say, Excel sheet, some 100 by 200 entries. Then can one directly? Is there any way of entering it, or
yeah, you can use import data from Excel. The easiest way to do is you can use Panda package. Panda package from Python.
Okay.
So you can import any Excel data through Panda, and that will import as what is called array that can be converted into a Sage matrix.
Okay, so even Excel data can be imported here.
Yes, it can be done.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, one maybe Is there any other question? Is there any other question? Yes. Just 1 second.
So,
Yeah.
one question is there.
Yeah, please.
I want to ask when you generate this random matrix,
Mhm.
then we enter there x is equal to -10 and y is equal to 10.
Correct.
So what are those entries x and y?
No, so here X is the lower limit and upper limit. So it is random matrix of integers from -10 to 10.
Hello,
Yeah, it is random matrix of
am I audible?
integers.
Sir,
Yeah, you are audible.
when we
Yeah.
generate random matrix, what are those entries x is equal to -10 and y is equal to 10?
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we are generating a random matrix of integers and
Lower limit,
between -10 and 10. So the values it will take will minus
by
10.
default it takes x.
There will be some default values, but you can
I got
mention.
it, sir. Entries should are between -10 and 10.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
That's correct. Okay, fine. So let me also give you one more small application to image processing, image compression of this is singular value decomposition. So first of all, let me copy this entire thing in chat box. Okay, so I'll just explain because time is running out. And so what we are doing, we are importing some package. This is a Python package, image input output. We are reading a image, which is image of Sardar Patel. I just took it from the internet, and this image this will work. And this is okay. I have converted into first person. Anyway, right. So I can show you the image. We have taken what it's each image. This is a color image. So each image will have 3 channels: red, green, and blue. So that these are extracted and then converted this image into RGB image, that is gray image. So there are different ways of doing. One of them is you take 29% of red, 58% of blue, and then about 11% of 58% of green and around 11% of blue, right? And then define a matrix of this. Define a matrix of this, and then let us. You can. So the Sage also has facility to plot that any matrix. So when you plot this matrix, this is a image of. It is plotting the matrix is plotting in terms of image. So first it has read the image into a matrix, and then we are plotting that matrix as an image, right? So every image is nothing but a matrix, and vice versa. Every matrix you can plot using matrix plot and visualize. Right now, if you look at this matrix, if I look at a dot, for example, dimensions. This is 995 by 1770. So 995 rows and 1770 columns. So it's fairly large matrix. So we can find its singular value decomposition. And when you do singular value decomposition, one can show that it can be split into sum of rank 1 matrices, whatever is the rank. Okay. So if you take first few terms of those ranks, and these singular values are actually arranged in decreasing order, right? So the first few singular values will have maximum information about the image. So if I take, for example, only, let us say first 5 terms, and then write down the first 5 terms of the singular value decomposition and plot that, you can hardly see this image is quite blurred. Okay, but if I increase the term, instead of 5 terms, if I make 20 terms, let me not like this. If I make it 20 terms, then the image is much better. Instead of 20, if I make it, for example, let us say 100, then it will be almost quite good. I mean, very similar to the original image. This was the, somewhere I had the original image, I think. Okay, so this is, but if you try to compare the size of the matrix that you have written in terms of approximation with the original matrix, there will be huge difference in the size. So that is what is called the image compression. And this is a very powerful tool, even in machine learning algorithms. These are some of the buzzwords. And then in that case, yeah, so this is what is called singular, image compression, and that can also be used, SVD can also be used as what is called dimensionality reduction. So you are reducing the dimension, in this case, from large rank to smaller, and that gives you the most of the information regarding the image. So that's another application I thought I will cover. Anyway, so what you need to do is that you just download any image, the code which I have given. In this code, you just download any image. I have given image in terms of, I think it is PNG image. So you just download any PNG image, put it in the directory in which you are working, and then run this code, it will work. When you run this code, this will work, and you can explore with other images.
So this software is useful for reducing noise in image processing, sir?
Yeah, correct. This software, this is a process. I mean,
Yes,
the
sir.
software is useful for many things. This is one such application. Yeah.
So can one, so you have this image and this image corresponds to a matrix. So can one print this matrix? So this will of course be a huge matrix. I think what size is this? 1000 by some.
990.
Right. So can one actually?
Yeah, one can, but see, it will take, if I ask it to see what is A, I can, this is 995 by 1770. So
Right.
you can find out some, let us say, if I say A of 1, this will give me the first row.
Okay.
Right. So like that, you can find out. You can specific.
And why do we need to convert it into grayscale? Because I've often seen that they convert it into grayscale.
You can also do SVD with the color image also.
Okay.
You will require some more work, but it is possible.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Okay. Fine. So if there are other questions, please, I will, because this is the last thing I wanted to cover. It's already, I think, several things that is covered. Yeah, Pradeep.
Hello, sir. Can we compress other file types also?
No, other file types compression, it may not be in terms of using SVD. You can do it using some other techniques. This is using SVD, so it works only for the matrix.
Oh.
Hello, sir. Can you take one example on block matrix?
Just one second. Block matrix. So you can just. So all you need to do is, let us say, you simply say matrix. Let us say I have the first block is A, second block is B, third block is, let us say, C, fourth block is D. Where A, B, C, D you have to define as matrices. Okay, here this right, A, B, C you need to define as a matrix.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Wait for a minute. I think he has some call.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sorry, yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Can we simulate graph here? Like suppose we have a function with the two variables, space and time. So as passed, can we make animation like that? Ki if time passes and that graph.
Yes, yes, you can do. There is something called Sage Interact.
Okay.
You can use Sage Interact. Using that you can create sliders, drop down menu, all these things can be done.
Okay.
And then you can
structure like
automatically animate also.
yes.
The online help will also be available, right? I mean, there's some manual.
I already said no. There are the online help manual. I have already said, right. Yesterday I gave you so many manuals that are there on the website.
Yeah. Are there any further questions?
So I have uploaded the entire sheet in PDF in chat message. So you can take. This
Sir,
contains all that. Yeah.
you have an NPTEL course, so will that course run in this?
Yeah, this is going to run in this January also.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can register for that. I think they are planning to make it 12 weeks course rather than 8 week that was there last time, because some of them found it slightly fast or the content was quite a bit.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Where we will get all the input commands?
Where will you get all the input commands? One place where you will get all the input commands. Right? I showed you. You can take the tutorials by going to the website, but at one place you will not get all the commands. You can look at Sage manual. That will be few thousand pages.
Okay.
The best thing is to look at some topic that you want to do and explore help on that topic, so that that is how you can do.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. Manish, sir, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So yeah. So if
Yeah.
there are no questions, Manish, sir, you can proceed.
Yes, sir. As this is the third talk about Sage Math, and from one variable calculus to up to having image processing, compressing of images, we learned many things, and which will be helpful for us in teaching and to the students also to visualize many things. So on behalf of Department of Mathematics and EHRDC, Yes, PPU, I would like to thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful and inspiring lectures, sessions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Manish. I also
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
all the participants for listening to patiently. I hope you will be able to use this. And if in case there are any questions, please do let me know. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Bye, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Professor
Thank
Ajit
you.
Kumar, for your wonderful sessions.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir.